we're going to install the wiring harness. There's two parts to it. This is the internal part that has two connectors and the heat shrink. And this part only has one connector. We're going to start by threading these wires through the outside of the grommet. Like that. Now I left the fender Allen wrench and this other rod that I had lying around through the rubber. This is to stretch it out. You can leave it like that overnight if you want it to kind of be a little easier. I'm going to move them till they're a little closer together. I'm going to take this end and push it through. I'm going to use pliers here to help. Like that. That's through. Then I'm going to move the wire over so it's out of the way. Spread these apart again. And push the other wire through. Just like that. Then I move the Allen key and the rod. And then we're going to thread these through. The hole. Through. And now take your pliers and kind of push up on the grommet. Take it like this, push up and in, and then down, and kind of wiggle it around. And that's how you kind of get it in there. You can kind of just put that back on. Now for the inside, we're going to take this wire, make sure it goes underneath the charging port. We're going to connect it just by pushing it in. Push it down. Put that there. Then we're going to put the BMS board in and the battery. just like that. Next we're going to attach this other part of the cable, red to red and black to black. Just like that. And just kind of move the heat shrink over it. A little more room. At this point, you're gonna heat up the heat shrink. You can either use a lighter or a heat gun. So use a lighter, heat it up, both of them. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take this, the blue, green, and white cable, push it underneath the charging cable, underneath the balance connector, and into this here. And we'll just push it in. And then we're going to take the charging cable underneath the balance connector, and then this just kind of pushes into place. Then we're going to seat the BMS at the bottom, make sure it's all the way in. Now this is the original cable. You can see how it's bent here. The reason we need to do that is because the wiring harness is going to push it back about 1 inch. So that means we need to take 1 inch out of this wire. But we can't cut it, and we can't push this wire out more, or else this distance isn't going to be the right length to put the side rail back on. So we're basically going to have to bend this wire, and it's quite stiff, so the only way to do that is to kind of put a bunch of little crinkles in it. And you can use pliers, or you can use these, and you can kind of push them together like this to bend it. You also need to bend right here where it comes out of the connector so that it goes around the balance port. So now I'm going to connect the controller connector to the wiring harness. Next I'm going to kind of push this in place and then connect the wiring harness to the BMS. I'm just going to push it in all the way. Once that's done, we can push in the BMS and then finally the balance connector, which just clicks in. We can kind of press everything down once we got it all together. Next we're going to take our top piece here and go just like that. We're going to take our T9 Torx bit, screw each side in. Next we're going to take the seal. You can line up this kind of weird square end with this square. And I'm just going to make sure it's in its gap. Before you tighten up this grommet, put the rail back on and line up the charge port with the hole in the rail. Line up these two screws. You can even stick one of these in if you want. And then on the other side, make sure there's room so that you can stick a screw in and get the controller box with this pushed in. If you can't, if there's not enough slack, pull out on the cable here until you do get enough. Use a crescent wrench to tighten it up. This back on, double check the seal that's in its little slot. And that's it.